neither one
Damn.
of us really want to do this.
Damn.
And if Daniel was here, he wouldn't want to do it either. I don't think. Not in terms, not under the umbrella of Black Tower Podcast.
He dodged the balefire.
Yeah,
He's on a
yeah,
plane. He's flying home.
yeah.
He's
He may
killed it.
not
He's just had a
even.
great holiday.
He may
We're
just
excited to
now
have him
be
back with us.
learning. He may just now,
That's
as we're
true.
recording this, be learning about what we're going to talk about and what everybody
That's true.
knows. We're obviously recording this on the 6th, so a good chunk of you at least will already know what we're going to talk about. So we're going to start this off with if you clicked on the video to hopefully get some laughs and that kind of stuff, we're sorry. This isn't one of those kind of videos. This is the first style of video like this that we're doing, and I really, really hope it's the last, because back whenever Aaron and I started the podcast, we set the standard that we would not discuss public or not public events, but well, yeah, like things that happen, big news ticket items, especially politics and that kind of stuff. And even with this, we're going to avoid the politics side of it as much as we can, which is kind of hard to do.
Given the scenario, yeah.
Yeah. To start off with, nothing that we say in this is by any way, shape, or means an endorsement for anybody or anything. Not that there's really anything to endorse. We're not taking a side, especially politically. We're not taking a political side. I'm definitely taking a humane and personal side, but and I think Josh is as well, and Daniel would as well. It's something, seems to be something that everybody I've talked about can agree. So, yeah, this isn't our typical kind of thing. We normally don't do this, but because of what happened and how just massively important it is, we kind of felt that we had to.
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
it's nothing about us. It's nothing about Black Tower. Nothing's like happened or going on there.
Yeah, a lot of you have been. I mean, almost all of you have seen the news at this point in time, and you know that the House and the Senate met to certify the election results, and protesters decided they were going to storm the Capitol, and it it's one thing to have a protest, a peaceful protest, hold signs, honk horns. Uh,
It's your right.
that's your right. That is a right. As a member of these United States, you have a right to assemble, to protest, to use your freedom of speech. And we at the Black Tower have been very vocal about that as well. You have the right to freedom of speech. Say what you feel is, right within the boundaries of the law, obviously.
Yeah.
Because the second you start saying, I'm going to kick that dude's ass, you're no longer using free speech. You're now actually committing a crime called assault. Ah,
That's
but,
kind of why we're talking about this,
and
because
that's
what
kind of
we
what we
saw
wanted to
today is
hit.
far beyond the boundaries of the law.
And what we saw, yeah, as soon as that first guy knocked over that barrier, knocked over that police officer, kicked in the door of the Capitol building and stormed in, you're
Or
right.
however they got in. I heard some people said they got in through breaking like a window on the second floor or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
However, whatever
We're
the
not going to
case may be,
speculate on exactly how everything happened. We know as much as the news media has put out. For me, especially, I know as much as they had put out by 6 o'clock. Because when I got in the car, I called my folks.
yeah,
Because mom was off this week and I hadn't talked to her since the holidays and wanted to talk with them. And so since then, other than what I just looked literally right before this, haven't seen anything that might have developed from 6 p.m. Eastern time on January 6th, all the way through when we're done recording everything tonight, because we are still
right.
recording an episode after this, which will be out on the 15th. So it'll be a week after this comes out.
Yep.
At least. But it's not an easy decision for us to break from what we consider our standard of no politics, no current events, none of that kind of stuff. Not especially not as the topic. Like the occasional like kind of passing generalized joke, generally we're fine with. Even jokes that sometimes get more specific, that kind of stuff. we're fine with.
Even we sometimes draw parallels,
Yeah,
and that's kind of skirting the line. But
yeah. But this isn't our standard. We hate doing this. We don't like doing this, but you, you can't ignore it.
yeah, it
Um,
needs to be
Not to say that the other stuff we haven't talked about is stuff we simply ignored.
right.
I have a very in a personal reason for why I feel it's so momentous, which I can get into in a minute here because I don't want to spend most of the time being the one talking, um, which is hard because this is the kind of stuff I not this exact event, but the realm that it concerns is the stuff I love talking about.
Yeah, that I think one of the common traits of being someone who loves books and someone who especially loves books like The Wheel of Time, where it's very verbose, very long, very detailed. Um, I think it's real important to keep in mind that, you know, the Capitol is a very important building. And one of the traits, oh, I'm sorry, that's where I was going with this, is one of the traits of people who love these books, they also love understanding history and different moments in history. And there are items and there are things that are very iconic and very important to us. And I know that's definitely true of myself. And when you start talking about the halls of the Capitol building, to me, politics melts away because I can look at that and I can say, wow, that painting was there 300 years ago, and well, maybe 200 years ago. But
Yeah.
that painting was there 200 years ago. The men and women who have passed laws, wrote constitutions, wrote constitutional amendments, and made this country a better place for everyone have walked up and down these halls.
It's as close to hollowed ground as you can get without delving into religion.
Absolutely, absolutely. It is um, deeply spiritual, deeply sacred to me. And politics aside, anyone, and I'm just going to say it, I really don't care at this point in time, anyone who is willing to destroy something so sacred is wrong. I don't care what your cause is. I don't care what your motivation is. I don't care what your backstory is. You are wrong. Anyone who stormed in and perpetrated any types of aggression or destruction in the Capitol building, you are wrong. And you deserve punishment to the fullest extent of the law.
And
Period.
huge shout out and thanks to it was a staff aide that thought whenever everything started going down from the current reports, it may be different later, but by all reports that I've seen at least, it was a staff aide that thought to take and grab all of the electoral votes and take them with them to their safe houses, their safe locations.
Yep.
So that is some serious under fire thinking.
Again,
Um,
powerful men and women. You can love them, you can hate them, you can agree with them, you can disagree with them, but those people are in that position for a reason. You're not supposed to like them all.
yeah.
You're
I
not
frequently
supposed
have
to agree with them
issues.
all.
Yeah, I frequently
That's
have issues with Congress, especially the Senate. There's things that I fundamentally disagree with just
yeah.
in their structure. But so for me, and longtime listeners or whatever will know this because I've said it a couple times. I know I haven't really recently, but I got my degree in college in political science. So learning about like the pantheons from ancient Greece, all their like version of city halls, and all their governing buildings, and it set a very long-standing tradition amongst democracy-oriented governments. Because we're not a pure democracy, just in case. Which I was
Yeah,
very
we're
pleased in somebody's address tonight that they referred to us as a democracy and they also referred to us as a republic. Um, but just so before I was born, this is a building where uh, amendments that made the Bill of Rights apply to states, the abolishment of slavery amendments, the full and equal representation in terms of like voting and the law, and what should just be everywhere. All of these amendments and laws have passed. And there's been ones that most people love. There's been ones that most people hate. There's laws that were passed that no longer fit or didn't have a place or should have never been that have been repealed, or another law passed to strike down that law or just not brought up. I mean, and they've all happened there. I mean, this is um, where Franklin Roosevelt talked to Congress to declare a state of war on Japan after the surprise attacks in 1941. It all that's happened, and then just in our lifetime, this is where, love him or hate him, it doesn't matter, but it was still a monumental address. This is where Bush Jr. or George W. gave the address to Congress and requested permission to go to war after the 9/11 terrorist attacks. It's such an important historical place, and with as far as I can remember, some minor exceptions of like senator on senator or representative. Because I know there was a South Carolina senator that, like in the early days, was arguing with some other senator, and he like literally hit the dude over the head with a cane.
Yeah.
Uh,
But that's
I
part of the
can't explain.
beautiful story. That's part of the beautiful history there.
But what I was getting at is for the vast majority, the congressional buildings, Capitol Hill has been a bastion of where public and political discourse triumphs, where you might be shouting at each other, you might have to dodge a cane or a glass of water or whatever from here and there, because that's how passionate everybody is about trying to pass laws and make decisions for the country to make it better. And for the longest, I'm going to say 99% of the time, it was all we talk about things, we argue about things, we make decisions, we vote, and it is a democratic process.
Yes.
And now that hallowed ground has been for, I mean, it was already tainted from the things that have happened in the past, but even more so now, because in a completely unnecessary event, an individual has now lost their life. A gun had to be fired within the halls of Capitol Hill to deal with. Uh, Personally, I would buy on to calling them violent extremists. I don't
Absolutely.
personally, I don't see how
Absolutely.
you couldn't, but that's just my view. I'm not saying everybody should see it that way. If you want to call them, violent protesters or whatever the case is, there's no way you can deny the violence that happened here, the destruction of property, the apps. I don't know how many federal statutes everybody violated by doing what they did, the officers that were injured, the fellow protesters that were injured, and just the people that are affected. I mean, it's a very small effect, but we've been affected by it today in terms of what our plan was for today. Um, we were going to have guests on, and after the news broke, they said like, "Hey, we were not going to be able to concentrate on Wheel of Time, so we're gonna have to reschedule." And which is perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with, hey, something happened that's occupying my mind. We need to take a break, but for like that, I can't get over how willfully people acted in the way they did, and now there's been modern violence in Capitol Hill, like in the halls.
That's a big deal, guys. That's a big deal. It's yeah, it's
It's
a
not
big deal.
who we are as a people.
No.
It's not who we are as a country. And if it is, then we got to do some growing up.
Yep.
That is some leftover caveman bullshit. Is
Agreed.
is what it is.
I want to say this though, and this is something that I really, really, really hold to, especially in times of darkness, in times of doubt, in times of sadness, in times of strife. First thing is something my grandmother used to always say. She used to always say, "Smooth seas never made a skilled sailor." And I didn't get that for the, as a as a 10-year-old kid, life is so hard, and she'd say that and I'd say, "That doesn't help me, grandma. I still want cookies," like, whatever. The idea being that we overcome strife and we become stronger after we pass that trial, after we move on past that hurdle, we're stronger for it. And I like what Penn Gillette says from Penn and Teller, and he says, look, two things have always been true about human history. One, things are always getting better. Look at where we were 100 years ago. Look at where we were 200 years ago. Things are better. Are they perfect? No, absolutely not. We've still got a long ways to go. But are they better? Yes, they're better. And the second thing is people always think they're getting worse. And what we're seeing right now is those people who think things are getting worse reacting emotionally.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is.
I was
It's sad, but we need to get perspective. We need to realize, guys, we will keep progressing. We will overcome whatever challenges come our way, and we will keep progressing, and we'll be stronger for it.
Yeah. Now, I'm not comparing what happened to 9/11, so listen all the way through before you hop in the comments or whatever below and it's like, this is nothing like 9/11. Yeah, I agree. It's nothing like 9/11. I was 8 whenever I watched everything happen on TV for 9/11. I remember all of us watching and being like, this is a terrible accident, and watching the announcers freeze when the second plane flew into the second World Trade Center. But what I remember, at least as well as how bad the scenes were and how bad all that was, even through the TV, was how amazingly the country came together and sacrificed and unified after this immense tragedy. And to look back on how close we were as a nation almost 2 decades ago, and to see how far apart we are for whatever reason, politics or other issues, it's heartbreaking. This is an exaggeration. I know it's an exaggeration. The more I think about it, I know it's an exaggeration. But my initial reaction when I thought about how unified we were after 9/11 and how divided we are now is that over the last several months, by seeing things on Twitter, on the news, on wherever, conversations with different people, conversations about conversations they've had, I honestly, seriously got the impression that we as a people hated each other more than we as a nation ever hated bin Laden for orchestrating the attacks. The more I think about it, I don't really think it's true. That was the initial perception, but there's plenty of times where it feels that way. And it's perfectly fine to believe things differently for, whatever your reason is, whatever you believe, whatever you don't believe.
Right.
It's perfectly fine. That's part of the perks of being humans, and especially living in the country like we do, like where that's protected. You can say you hate whoever from the government all day and all night long, and no, a firing squad's not going to come to your door and pull you out back like they would in, Germany, Mao Zedong's China,
Right.
Ho Chi Minh's Vietnam, Stalinist Russia, all those kind of places from history. But there's something to be said about letting the actions and beliefs of a party or somebody else divide you from your own humanity,
Yes.
to the point where you're ostracizing your fellow man because they believe differently than you, or they think differently on one or two issues, or however many it is. And there are people that it's just unavoidable, that they're just so bad or toxic or whatever that you can't help but push them out. And by all means, like, make those choices on your own. But in a super interconnected age where we have Twitter and Facebook and countless chatting sites and other pages and everything, it's far too easy for us to get in the emotions, hop in immediately, and start just word vomiting all of our hate out. And venting your frustrations is something that you should do for your own mental sanity, but it shouldn't ever lead to you just completely forsaking other people. And this isn't from one side to another or anything. It's for everybody.
Yes. Yes. That I feel like that needs to be stressed a lot, because as you guys know, Andrew, Daniel, and myself, we all do speak politics from time to time, just personally and in our discords and stuff like that. And we have very differing views on a lot of things. But we're still friends. We still respect each other. There's no requirement that says everyone has to see things from your perspective. There's no rule that says that you can't be friends with someone who disagrees with you or your way of life.
And there's no
We
rule
saw
saying you have to be friends with people that disagree with you.
exactly.
All we're saying you should do is be a fucking decent human being.
Be excellent to each other. Okay? Follow the sage
Party
advice.
on. Oh,
Follow the sage advice of Bill and Ted. It really is that simple. And you're going to say, well, that person has an opinion or a view that is aggressive to me and disagrees with my way of life. Okay, then don't talk to them. It's as simple as that. But I think you'll find that most people, if you get to a personal level and get down person to person, most people are not willing to incite violence against their fellow man. And I think social media and the internet has done a lot of damage in that way, because it's real easy to get behind a computer screen and say, oh, well, you are a piece of crap and you're a jerk and I don't like you. And things you'd never say to their face.
it's really easy to be a keyboard warrior.
And that's not an accusation, okay?
Yeah.
I've been guilty of it. And it's real easy to do. It's real easy to see something that someone says and you go, well, you son of a bitch. I can't believe you'd say that. Dude, that's not cool. I'm going to get in there.
Yeah.
If that person's really bothering you that much, you don't need to talk to them. You don't.
Yep. All of these, every online site we have has some form of mute or block or whatever. And if anybody tries to tell you you're just bad or you're wrong because you just mute anybody that doesn't agree with you, it's your online experience. Tailor it as much as you want. If you can do it with a book series where you filter out all the spoilers from a newly released book or a book series you haven't finished, tailor your experience so that you don't have to see the things that you don't want to. And if you do see them, remember that if you don't tailor it to where you don't see what you don't want to see, then it's your fault that you're seeing it. Doesn't mean you have to agree with it.
Right.
But it's not the other person's fault that you're seeing it. Like they could just not post it, but you could also just not look at it.
I can tell you right now, I have very close friends that we disagree vehemently on numerous subjects. And I don't block them. I don't mute them. I don't get them away. And, you know, when I'm on Facebook and they're posting, and they're clearly very emotionally charged. So I just kind of, okay, I just have to go by. But don't.
And just kind of treat the post like the crackhead outside of the gas station. Like, oh, okay.
Oh my God, that's a beautiful metaphor. You don't, when the crackhead outside of the gas station with like his pants halfway off comes up to you and says, hey man, I just need some change. Could you like go get me a hot dog in there, man? You don't go, bro, you should shower. Like, that's not how you handle the situation. You handle it one of two ways. You either go, absolutely, man, let me go get you a hot dog. Or you say, okay, man, I gotta go. Please back off. And you go away. You leave it alone.
Yeah.
That's treat triggering political posts on social media like a crackhead outside a gas station in a shady part of town.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll be happier. I promise.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've talked probably longer than we initially intended to. And we can't really go too much longer because we're getting close to somebody's hard out time. But I'll say relatively close. But the ultimate message we wanted to get across is this is the event is horrible. It should have never happened. It shouldn't be something that happens in a civilized society. I expect better from the American people of all walks of life, of all beliefs, of all political sides, whatever you are. I expect better. Not that everybody has to meet my expectations, but I do. And as as an American, as a veteran who, just like Josh, we signed up to potentially give our lives for the sake of what this republic democracy, what this nation represents, what it is, and everybody in it, regardless of how much we agree with or don't agree with you. And to see this kind of blatant disregard, blatant disrespect for time honored traditions, for institutions that are only there to serve our best interests, whether they do or not, it's a different discussion. But that's
Right.
what it's supposed to be there for, to establish the laws for this nation and serve the will of the people and conduct the people's business.
Right.
To be desecrated like this, it's beyond yeah, it's beyond heartbreaking.
It is.
Um,
I agree.
yeah, but
So
that's it.
I
So we
I
just want to, hey, don't be like those fuckheads.
yeah.
All right, be decent human beings. You don't need to run and break into everybody's house you don't agree with. You don't need to commit acts of violence against uh, against anybody. You know, like
You
obviously,
really
like
don't.
defend yourself and whatever. But if
Right.
nobody was attacking people, then you wouldn't have to do it. But just when you get into those moments where something's happening and it doesn't go your way, or you're getting extremely agitated and stuff, try to take a step back, calm down, and remember that we're all human. We're all living on the same planet. We may not have the same lives, but at the end of the day, the other person you're talking to is no less or more of a human than you are,
That's right.
and act accordingly.
And one
If
of
you want
my
somebody doing it to you, don't do it to them.
one of my favorite YouTubers, the Eric Butts, he does this in the beginning of his videos. He says, "We will get through this. We will get through this together." And he says, "Say it with me, it helps." And I do. I want you to know that I say it with him every time. But guys, it's true. We will get through this. We will get through this together. And that's the only way we're going to get through it, together.
Yeah. But hopefully, this is we fully intend for this to be the first and only kind of video like this that we make. Um, we're not going to say anything more if the situation continues on or gets worse. Not at least in this format. You know, we might tweet something out or something like that. But this isn't something we want to continuously do on the podcast. We try to keep the stuff separate, and we fully intend to do that as much as is humanly possible. This was just something that was so momentous that
We felt it was pretty important.
yeah.
So thank you,
Yeah. And again,
everyone.
that's not to say that anything else that we haven't publicly said anything
Right,
about
right.
using the Black Tower podcast isn't as important. Um, this was just kind of the proverbial straw that broke the camel's silence, I guess.
I like that. I like that.
I mean,
Thank you so
it doesn't
much.
matter
If
what I
you're
say. Anybody's going to take it however they want. Take it however you want. That's fine.
Sure.
That's your prerogative. We know what we meant, and the people that listen to us and at least have some idea of the kind of people we are know what we mean. Um, so make of it whatever you want, but try to at least be a decent human being about whatever you decide. But yeah,
Thank you. And if you're with us here, thank you. If you're with us still, you're still listening, thank you. And remember, no matter, how dark it gets, sun comes up tomorrow.
so now Josh, let's go do something uplifting and fun. Let's go talk about the
Oh,
Wheel of Time.
I need it. Let's do it.